Right. Good evening, everyone. So tonight's session we're going to be doing the practical manual testing using Excel. So and this is going to be taken by me, Abumbola. And for tonight's objective, what we're going to be doing is introduction to. We're just going to briefly talk about manual testing. Then we would see how we can use Excel for manual testing. Then we'll have solid understanding of bugs. Then we're going to see how to report bugs in Excel, and we're going to also do some manual testing for a website. Okay. Then we can have question and answer after at the end of tonight's session. So what is manual testing? Well, manual testing involves executing test case without automation tool. So meaning that you are doing it manually, so there is no tool involved. That's just the meaning. So and Excel is often used to record test cases, our test result, and to track defects. So we make use of Excel. Excel is one of the most popular one we use for manual testing. I think it's even the standard for manual testing. So and tester manually verify that the software behave as expected. Like I said, the end goal is for you to ensure that the software you are testing actually behaves as expected. So we don't want any glitches or any maybe performance issues. You just want it the way we just want to ensure that the code or whatever the application the developer has built, our end user love it. So how do we know they will love code like that or an application like that? That is by testing the application. So and the manual testing is a very, very important technique when you want to do exploratory testing, ad hoc testing, and usability testing. So exploratory testing is just going to a website and checking. It's mainly focused on experience-based testing, like, oh, okay, this is a login page. I know how a login page should work. Oh, I should not be able to enter a wrong email address. Okay, I'm going to try to put in a wrong email address. Will I get an error message if I put in maybe a minus gmail.com? So I didn't put out, probably that's a wrong email format. So with experience-based testing or exploratory testing, you can catch that bug very, very early in the life cycle. That is when the development is still in the early phase. I know early testing save times and money, which is one of the principle of one of the core principle of testing. So and we also have ad hoc and usability testing. That's what we're going to be dealing with tomorrow. So we'll learn about types of static testing. Then we'll go on to types of functional testing tomorrow. So Excel for manual testing. So Excel sheets can be used to organize test cases and track test results. Okay, so we make use of Excel sheets to actually organize our test cases and we can track their test results. So it's just for us to group. So we can decide to even group them in our by Excel sheets, or we can decide to group them based on their ID number. So we'll talk about that later on going forward. Then we can also common rules that we do have in Excel include like our test ID, our test case description, our test step, the expected results, the actual result, and the test status. So our test ID is unique, but in case, like for instance, Azure DevOps actually generate a test ID for us. So we can use the test ID. And if we don't have the tester account, so you should be giving your tester account. I don't know when, but should be giving your tester account. So if you don't have the tester account, you can use the story of the ID. So you can decide to use the story of the ID for the test ID. Then for our test case description, it's just a short note about the test case, what it does, and what is the aim of the test case. What's the plan for the test case to achieve? Okay, so it's not really compulsory, but it's good to have. Then the test step. So the test step is just the step you need to how you are going to execute your code. So the step involves like do you go to the browser or do you open the application? So those are what's going to be your steps. Then what is the expected result? So the expected result is what you're actually expecting. For instance, now if I say, oh, I open the website, what should happen? The website should open successfully. So that is the expected result. But what is the actual result? Actual result is what you now got. So actual result can be like, oh, the website failed. Imagine ordering from Amazon. Maybe you order a pair of boy trouser, and what you're getting is a female trouser. So as you can see, the expected result and the actual result differs. So and that is a bug. And another column you're going to have, which is also mandatory for you to have, is the test status. So once this is very useful when you want to execute your test, or yeah, in the process of executing your test. So you need to mark them as either fail or pass. So your test status is just a boolean value, true or false. So did it pass or it failed? So pass or failed. So it's more like a boolean value. Then with Excel, we have okay, in Excel we make use of conditional formatting to help highlight our test, our pass or fail results. So we need to like use a coloring. So you can use a color to identify it very very easily, because if you have to submit it to your stakeholders that, oh, this is what I have been doing so far, this is my test that I've been writing, so they'll be like, okay, why is everything the same color? So but if your tests that pass, you mark them in like green, and the one that fail, you mark it in red, it will be very very easy for your stakeholders to identify what's going on. So, oh, this, I can see this is red, I can see this is green. So why is this green, why is this red? So then you can go on and explain to them that, oh, this is some of the tests I executed, and the green one are those that indicate that they are successful, they've passed, and I am 99.9% sure that they won't fail in production. But these that fail are the one that I tested and I executed. However, they failed. They didn't pass the required check for them to be um released, and I'm not confident that they can be released for production. So it's going to give our stakeholders idea of what's going on. So that's another reason why you can use Excel for manual testing. Then you can use it to filter pivot table, and you can summarize testing progress. So with Excel, you can have a pie chart or a yeah, so you can have a pie chart that indicates how many tests fail or how many tests pass. So it's just for you to know, okay, this test has failed, this test has passed. So we won't be doing the pie chart tonight, but we can do that maybe tomorrow, next tomorrow. So we can use our pie chart to indicate what passed, or the like a summary, okay, of what passed, and we can also use a pivot table to summarize the testing progress. So we can use Excel. I say sorry, we can use pie chart or the pivot table, but the pie chart is very very common and is also using Azure. So yeah, you can use it in Azure. So if you have a dashboard in tester account with Azure, you can use the uh, pie chart to summarize your tests, and you can group it into tests that are failed, tests that you have that has passed, and tests that is not, that has not been executed, but you've written them down. Okay. So tonight we're going to be talking about bug. So what are bugs? So bug is, or defect is, a deviation from the expected result. So bug can arise due to coding error, miscommunication, or incorrect requirement. So let's all start from the coding error. So as human, we do make mistakes. Okay. So and developer are not above that, even if they test their code. Okay. So even if they test their code, that's why they still hire us to actually check their code. So they make mistake, and they may even deliberately put it in there that, oh, since I don't know how to fix it, let me just put it there. If the developer did not catch it, then the user may not catch it, so which is fine from my side. Because if you go into different websites, you can see that they may have a lot of GitHub issues open down. Though the application is working fine, but they've not resolved the GitHub issues. So the GitHub issues may just be the one of 1,000 users that may be experiencing that um condition. So that's how they can create a GitHub issue. So we'll talk about CI/CD later on, but not now. So, and miscommunication. So when you're having you, s- you stand up when you're having your meeting with your team, so and you're discussing about how you want to maybe deliver a product, or maybe you're in your sprint planning how you want, so there can be miscommunication, and the developer may not really understand what's going on. So white and gray are of similar color, right? Okay, but white is not gray. So that's miscommunication. Or for instance, in your, how do I put it? In the wireframe, it may look like, maybe they did not specify color. It may look like white, but meanwhile it should be gray. Maybe they did not specify it uh in the requirement that, oh, the color for the website should be gray, and you feel that, oh, as the developer may feel that, oh, this is white, then that's fine. But because the BA may fail it in the, what's the name of this thing? In the UAT. So there's more likely that the BA is going to fail it in the UAT because the color is gray, but the developer made use of white. So that is where miscommunication can come into place. So it may not just be of direct without talking, maybe like incomplete requirements. So miscommunication can also come in form of incomplete requirements. So, and kind of go side by side. So maybe the developer did not ask for clarity, and it can even be you, because we should be involved in requirement gathering, so we can enhance our understanding of how the product is going to work. So we'll know where we're going to be testing, because we can't test 100% of the website or 100% of the application. We need to we need to pick where we need to test, like the performance critical site, the critical site where the user cannot do without. We need to test. So we have different types of bugs. So the first one is functional bugs. So what are functional bugs? So functional bugs are bugs, or they are those error, also not error, they are defects that, or is when the application does not work as expected. They are error as a result of the application, when the application doesn't work as expected. So that is functional bug. So maybe our login page, maybe we have a login page now, and the functionality is that once I click on the login button, I should be able to log in and see the website. So I can click on the login button, I've put in a correct username, I've put in a correct password. When I try to log in, then no redirection occurs. I can't sign into my account. So that is the example of functional bug. Another one can be our registration. So imagine not being able to register. So that's going to be a that's going to be a critical bug, and it's also a functional bug. So we can have UI UX issues. So UI means user interface, UX means user experience, and they go side by side. So your user interface can result of maybe they are meant to use blue and they are using purple, even if they are kind of like looking similar, or maybe if you use white and gray. So that's the very close example. Is also a type of bug, and is classified as the UI UX issues. So, and the user experience can just be maybe the performance side of things. So maybe if the performance of the application is very slow, it's a bug. Maybe there's something that developer is not doing, and there's something the tester probably they are not did not test it properly. So that's why the developer was able to release it. So it goes both ways. Then performance bugs. So performance bugs is just, it has to do with the speed of the website, how well optimized the website is or the application is. So, and most application, for instance, banking application and airplane application actually performance critical. So for instance, you don't every seconds counts when it comes to banking. Now imagine, I don't know if you do on like an FX trading, but if you do something like FX trading and trading where just 0.1% to 0.2 can either make people a millionaire or can even make people a, I don't know, to go back to their village. So those type of application that require high performance or airplane, every seconds count. So if they are getting the wrong signal due to um or maybe they are getting the signal very late, it can cause people to crash. So performance critical application, we need to look for a way to like minimize or test that there is no performance related bugs. So that's example of performance bugs. So it's just to ensure that it works as expected and not just work, ensure that it work and is very and it works as it should do, it should work. Just because of its work doesn't make it like work. So there's some application that work but they are not the best of the best. So you need to make sure that whatever project you touch, you ensure that they are the best of the best. So let us talk about security vulnerabilities. So security vulnerabilities is a very is not only the work of a tester, but they are experts that works on it, which is the cyber security. So they are the experts when it comes to security vulnerability. So they are the one that actually tests for security vulnerabilities. But as a tester, we can also test for security vulnerabilities. And it's also a type of bug. So, and in my knowledge of security, there's something they call 0 day. So 0 day is just a bug or a vulnerability that has never been seen before. So that's how 0 day. So that's why it's called 0 day. So no one has experienced it before, or no one know how to. I don't know how I'm going to put it, but it's just like no one has experienced it before. So that's why it's called 0 day. So and there, we will not be able to test a 0 day vulnerability as a tester, but simple security vulnerabilities like using common passwords, username, those we can ensure that our application that we are producing for the customer to use should not be able to allow simple username like 123 4 or 56 or 123 4 5 6 as a password. So it's not really good. It's not of standard. Your standard password should be at least 8 character and should have a mixture of alpha. It should be alphanumeric with lowercase and alpha case mixed together and just have a symbol. So that's how you know a good password. So and the security work is not just for tester or cyber security. The developer and other member of the team also need to test for security, because once the security goes down, the user doesn't really care about the functionality anymore. They're like, oh, my money, oh, my password has been leaked to the internet. And that's when GDPR or GDPR, sorry, GDPR comes into place. That, oh, they are going to find the company. So you want to ensure that you eliminate all possibility of bugs you can never find as a tester. Ensure you test them and you report it using the proper procedure to the developer or the people in charge of developing the product. So bug reporting in Excel. So like I said, we've talked about that. Excel can be used as a bug tracking sheet. So what do we have in our bug in our column? So we have the bug ID. So similar like to the test ID, our bug ID can also be generated in Azure DevOps. Okay, and if we're not using Azure DevOps, maybe we're using Excel, then it can also be the name of the uh, test or the name of the story. So sorry, the story ID, because once you write a story as Azure DevOps, it's going to automatically create an ID to it. Then the description too is about what the bug is about. Oh, is it a functional bug? And if it's functional, um, what functionality maybe what functionality is actually affected? Maybe it's the login page. Oh, the login page is not working as expected. I tried to click the button, but the button look is disabled, or and I'm using the proper username and password. So another one is steps to reproduce. So you need to put the step to reproduce that issue. Oh, I log into the website, I put in my username, I put in my valid email address. And even if you are putting the step to reproduce, also put the actual credential you use. In the case of login, maybe you log in and login is not working as expected. So the credential you use is you also need to add to it, because maybe you are using password 123456 because it's a test environment, but the password 123456 doesn't work anymore. The developer has deleted or it has disabled account that make use of password 123456. So you need to reset your account. So that's why you also need to put what value you use in case of scenarios where the system actually receives value. So another one is expected results. So what result are we expecting? Similar to our test case, what is our expected result? So what are we meant to have? Then actual results. Then what are we also meant to have? Then the next one is severity and priority. So we'll talk more on severity and also talk more on priority later on. So, but severity and priority. Severity is how does it affect the system. Then priority is how fast should the issue be mitigated. So let's put that way. Severity, how bad does it affect the system? Priority is how fast do we need to like mitigate that bug or that risk. So our severity in login page can be high and it's between 1 to 5, with 1 being the most critical and 5 being the least critical. So severity, like for instance, our login page is a 1 severity because it is very, very important to the system. And the priority is also 1 because we need to ensure that um it is mitigated very, very easily, very, very quickly, so that people can use the system. So, but for cases like the maybe the website is meant to be white, then the developer use gray or vice versa, the severity is not as severe because a lot of people, I some people are colorblind, so they can't even tell the difference. But a lot of people will not really notice the tiny detail that we test actually do notice. So the color may come into the sense that, oh, the severity is probably a 4 or a 5. So severity range between 1 and 5, with 1 being the most critical and 5 being the least, similar to priority. So the the priority can also be 5 because we don't really care much about the color. As long as the color is not from 1 to 5. Sorry, so from white to orange. So as you can see, that's a very big change. But something like white to gray, light blue to deep blue, it doesn't really change much. Okay, so you can even ignore it for the current sprint until you face more severe bugs like maybe the login page or the registration. Then the status, so we can have new, assigned, fixed, or closed. So when it is new, it means we just raised that bug. Okay, so when it is new, it means we just raised that bug and the status is going to be new. Next one is when it is assigned, it means that we've given someone to be, maybe the developer, to be in charge of that bug. So the next one is when it is fixed, it means the developer has fixed the bug. So we tester need to do the retesting again. So we need to retest. Then after that, it is closed. So once it is closed, it means that we've tested it, it works as expected. So we can now close the bug. So for instance, this is an example of bug from report format. So we have the bug ID, we have like the title, like that login. So we have the description. So login field with valid credential. So step to reproduce, enter valid username, then click login. Then expected result, user should be logged in. Actual result, error message displayed. So as you can see, the severity is high and is 1, and the priority is also 1. So it's very, very high. And the status is new, meaning we just raise the bug. So this just has to do with raising bugs. So we should raise bug as soon as they are identified during testing. So don't wait for you to raise bug, or maybe because you are unsure that a member of the team have raised it, still raise it again. It's good, so you don't forget. Remember, defects cluster together. So that's one of the simple principles of testing. So you don't want your bugs cluster together, even if it's not critical. Don't ignore the bug, still raise it. Okay. Then you also need to provide clear and concise and reproducible steps for your bug. So in where I worked, so they asked us to make use of video rather than just writing our step. Make use of video, so the in case we are doing something wrong, they'll be able to tell that, oh, we are doing something wrong. And seeing is believing. If you have to write steps, no one really have time to go through your steps. But watching video is more, like I'll say, is more interesting and it's more visually appealing than just reading some lines of code. So you if it's possible, make use of maybe a link to the video. So you can, in the Excel column, you can also add like link to video. So that link to video is where you're going to put the link to your video, because Excel, you can't, I don't really think you can embed video in Excel. And even if you can, you probably shouldn't, because the Excel file is going to be so large. So you should also include screenshot, logs, or the data samples that you use. So screenshot is very, very important, similar to our video. Our logs is also very, very important. So logs is what you get at the end of the system. So once you run your test, we get some certain logs, okay? And the logs can be due to maybe a error. It may even be just that the test actually passed in the system. So and we have logs, and also our data samples can be like maybe the Excel file data we use. Maybe we're importing user data from that, or maybe our JSON file. Maybe we're making use of JSON, we're testing an API, we're doing a mock API using JSON file, or it can also be our username and password that we use. So those are our data. So data is just what we use. Then we ensure that we are assigning the correct severity and the priority to our bugs. So for instance, putting a one severity in our color doesn't really make sense, because white and gray are very, very similar. You can hardly tell the difference. So if the developer sees it and says, this is critical, and he reads through the description, the developer are probably going to ignore you next time. Remember, you are trying to optimize. You want to first solve the most critical one to the system before moving on to the less critical bugs. So then you communicate effectively with the developer and you retest. So retesting is just doing the test again after the bugs have been fixed. So that's what you need to do when you are raising your bugs. So we've come to the end of the theory part. Then we'll go into the practical part of the section. So we'll see how we can create our test reports in Excel. We test a website. I'll talk a little bit about BDD, but it's not now. It's after my functional. When we do functional testing, that's when we'll talk about BDD. Okay. But we'll do a little bit of BDD. So, sorry, my bad. So, we're going to create a new Excel sheet, and this is what we're going to include in our Excel sheet. So, I'm going to create a new Excel sheet now. So I'm going to click on blank workbook. So this is my Excel sheet. Okay. So I'll just change the view to zoom to 200 so you can see it properly. So now we want to include this column in our Excel sheet. So I'm going to start by this. I'm going to call it a test. test ID. Okay, so this is our test ID column. So this is our test case. So, and our test case is probably going to be very long. So let me just do it to the side. This is our test case. So the next one is going to be our, sorry, I mean test case description. I meant. So this is our test case description. And the next one is going to be our test steps. And it's going to be long. And the next one is our expected results. So this is also going to be a bit long. Then last one is going to be our test. So this is our test status. Okay. So I just use Control E to actually move it to the center. Okay, so as you can see, centralized already. So we know our test status is actually a boolean which is either pass or fail. So now let's just test a random website. So I'm going to open Chrome. I'm just going to go to sorry. Okay. So this is the official BlueSky website. So I'll just go to demo site. Okay. So this is the website we'll be testing. Right. Okay. Let's see. All right. So this is the home page. Okay. So this is the demo form. Okay. So in case you want to follow along, let me send it to the chat. Okay. So this is the website we'll be testing. Right. So I'm going to go over it once and for all. So we're going to try to do this. And we'll talk about other part of the application or other part of this that we may try to do. And we'll also do a little bit of, we'll do positive and we'll do negative testing. Okay. Now, so this is the first thing, right? But before coming over to the form, what are we going to do? So we need to navigate to this website. So let's say we have the link already. And if we don't have the link, we need to go to the website. So this is this website. So this is the demo website. So let's say we go to this website and we click on this demo form. So now, so to write that in Excel, our test ID is going to be just our test ID. Since we don't have test ID over here, so maybe there's a storage for us in Azure, but there is no storage. So let's just pick imaginary number. Okay, so let us just pick a 5-digit number. So this is our test ID, which is 1000. So what's our test case description? So our test case, as you can see, this is event registration form. So you could say, oh, to positive we could say to positively test an event registration form. So that's the main government website. So, so this is our website that we multiple. So this is want to do a positive test for the event registration form. And as you can see, based on what is here, it says The asterisks means they are required, and even so it's just for us to it's just exam, it's just small context that we need to fill in our detail in this event registration form. Then we'll also be automatically registered. So once we fill our form, we should be automatically registered in the system. Then and it must be completed at least 7 days prior to the event. So as a tester, there's some key information you need to take in based on what is here. So the first one is we need to test this field that are asterisk if they are required. So sorry, let me just bring out this board. So you want so I'll write down my thought process because it's really, really important for you to understand. So the first one I talked about is field mark with an asterisk. So number one, we need to test um field mark with an asterisk. So we want to test them. Why? Because it's here that they are required. So we want to test them to ensure that the website is not wrong. So it's saying that they should be required. So as a tester, you need to test if the system actually says what it does because we do verify. Okay, so we can't just believe the system like that as a tester. So you see test field mark with asterisk. So they should be required. So that's just it. So the first one is should test field marked with asterisk as they should be required. Okay, so the second one is now if you would like to take part in our event, please fill in the details in the event registration form below. So now we need to test the form. So and if we are to test this, meaning that we should be able to accept our values. So since we are going to be filling the form, so we need to ensure that all field accept our value. So, so we want to ensure that all field actually accept our value because based on what you wrote, you see that we should fill in our details. Then next one is gonna be this part. You will be. So this is a very, very strong statement that it is the system is telling us that 100%. So once we fill our form, then we are going to be registered. Okay, so the first one is we're going to be automatically registered. So after filling the form, so now since you say we should be registered, so what's going to be the other test we're going to be doing? So we need to do the login. login. We need to do login tests. Okay, so since we're going to be registered, then we need to log into the system to prove that, oh yes, we are registered for. So another one again, probably we should get a confirmation message. Confirmation message. Don't mind man writing. So we should have a confirmation message. And since we should be registered, right? Or maybe if it's, maybe the message is like a redirection, or maybe just a success message that pop up that, oh, yes, we are registered already. So that's what we can test. So the fourth one now can be event registration must be completed at least 7 days. So it's, the system is proposing that it must be completed at least 7 days. So, so now this brings a lot of questions. So now it's, the system is trying to say, oh, it must be completed at least 7 days. Is the system mean, does the system mean that we are going to be saved if we did not complete it today and we decide to come back tomorrow? So as a keyword, these are the point I want you to take note of. So as you can see, this is just a simple line, but look at what I'm able to take from it, and look at other tests that I plan on testing going forward. Okay, so as you can see, this is login. So from just a simple statement, as you can see, I can I want to do the login test. I also want to do like a confirmation email. So please, this is how you break down requirements. So we can talk more requirement, how you can break down requirements for you to have a lot of tests that you can work on going forward. Then back to this one, at least 7 days. So event registration must be completed at least 7 days. So it says, based on my understanding, right? It means event registration should be completed least 7 days. Now, this has a lot of questions. At least 7 days. Is it 7 days before the event? Is it that we can come back and our, so this part is not really clear. Okay, as you can see, 7 days prior to the event, you can see. So 7 days prior to the event. So the question is, when is the event? I don't know when the event is. So that's another way to go about it. So you can see 7 days prior to the event. So 7 days. So meaning that if we know the day of the event, so let's say the event is next week, so meaning that within 7 days we should be able to test. So as a tester, after that after the seventh day, maybe on the eighth day, right? Sorry, on the sixth day. So you need to complete it 7 days before the event. So on the sixth day, then you need to test that. Can I still register for the event? So you could say on the sixth day, on the seventh, comma sixth, comma maybe fifth day. So we should check if the system accepts registration. Man writing. So this is what I was able to bring out from here without even going through the form. So that was just part of it. Now we talked about exploratory testing, right? So we're going to do a little bit of exploratory testing and we'll see how we can explore the system. So now the first name, so we can see this is the first name. Like, so can I write my name here? Okay, I can write my name, so I can put name. Can I put some number? Oh yeah, I can put number. Maybe some people are having number in their name. Can I put symbol? This is a little bit tricky. People don't tend to have symbol in their name, right? So you could say, oh, I'm not really sure if this is working as expected because your name should not have any symbol like at or dollar sign and it's taking it. The system is happy with it. It's probably not right. Okay. So you can go, can I start with a dollar sign? Yes, I can start with a dollar sign. And it's not right. No name start with dollar unless it is a nickname. So this is your first name. First name can never start with a dollar. Okay. Even people from America are not using dollar for their name or starting their name with dollar. So why not? Why would people from Europe or people in the UK want to do that? So, like as you can see, this is a bug. Okay, you can't start your first name with a dollar sign. So, as you can see, once I delete it, it shows that this is required. So now this passed when it comes to like this asterisk are required, it passed this part of the test. But now the second part is why can I put the at symbol? Why can I put symbol, numbers, full stop, slash? Your name shouldn't have full stop, right? There's no person name that has full stop starting with it, but we have it in our first name. So this is a bug, and this is what I want you to take notice of. Fine, you may say, oh, no reasonable person can do it, but what if someone is trying to exploit our system? Maybe there's a malicious code linked to some doing something like this. Because in the world of cybersecurity, by the time you put some unknown code or some unknown error, even to the first name, you can end up having a bug. Sorry, you can end up having an exploit, and your system is going to be exploited, and you don't want that to happen to you. So, as you can see, our last name too similarly uh, can accept other strange symbol, as you can see, and it won't complain about that. So we don't want that in our system. So we need to tell the developer that, you know what, I found the bug here, and this is the type of bug I found. And I also found a bug here and the last name, and this is the type of bug I found. So we should only accept letters from A to Z. Okay, maybe hyphen as our symbol that we should accept, but symbol like brackets is probably not in our name, or symbol like percentage, no one use percentage in their name. So these are what you need to take note of. So I'm going to write it here. So now, since we're doing exploratory testing, anytime you're doing exploratory testing, you need to write down your findings. Okay, so you need to write, maybe be it Excel sheets, be it like a paper, or maybe like something like what I'm doing now. So you can write it down. So you can write your bugs. So the first bug we found was that our first name and last name, they actually accept symbol and number. So, so that's our first bug that we found. So we found out the first and the last name accept symbol. Okay. Then the next one is, let us try to see, oh, if we delete it, that means you get an error. This is a very good error that, oh, this field is required and is okay. So this is what we want. So I'm still going to leave the bracket and the so I'm going to leave that here. So as you can see, this is a very simple test, and we found two bugs in the system, or we found a bug in the system. So similarly, our email address. So let us put a non-valid email address. Because so I can put this one. This is valid. I can put g.com. This is also valid, right? Because this is our domain name. So this and this are part of the domain name. Okay. G.com probably doesn't exist. So you can test that. Oh, does g.com exist? No, it doesn't exist. So this shouldn't be a domain name. Or rather, there's x.com. Okay. So that's why the system is allowing it. So domain name like x.com are actually the what's the name of this thing? It's actually the outlier. But generally your domain name is not going to be g.com, or maybe gt.com. So probably not gt.com. Okay, it should be more descriptive than this, unless it's specified. So it may not be a big bug, but you want users not you don't want users to use random email in your system. Because you are trying as much as possible to ensure you have a very good user. When I mean very good user, you don't want a one-time user that make use of maybe a.t.com, and because you are not verifying the email, you are just storing their data in the database, and you're wasting the company resources. So your job is to ensure that domain name like this are actually eliminated from the system. You don't want someone just randomly putting a fake domain name. And lastly, Twitter doesn't even they don't create a public email address like Gmail or Outlook. So this shouldn't be accepted in the system. Okay, so you could write it that this shouldn't be accepted. So we'll say our email address, say the email address doesn't have doesn't okay, sorry, let me just put it this way. Our email address actually takes in any domain name, including fake value or arbitrary values like maybe t.com. So you shouldn't be taking t.com in our domain name. So you should look for a way to eliminate that. Okay. So that is that. So we've worked with this G now. That is the one after the email, after the at symbol. So let us work with this one now. Let us see C. As you can see, this is not a valid email address. Nice catch. Okay. Let us see CL. Hmm. Is CL a valid email address? So now let's check. So as you can see, what domain name is CL? So we could have tools like that. We could have your maybe there's your developer can do an API call to this. Maybe it is valid. Maybe you can do something like this. As you can see, it is valid and it is very expensive. Okay, it is valid. The CL is valid. So you say, oh, fine, the CL is valid. But as you can see, once I do C is not valid. What about CM? Probably going to be valid because NG is Nigeria, and that is our Nigerian domain address, so, and it is valid. So UK is also a UK address and it is valid. So most countries domain name actually are abbreviated into like two letters. USA is US. Which one again? Russia is RU. Okay, so and this one too. Let us see. Can we start with a phone number? Oh, you can start with a number, and most address don't even start with a number. Okay, you start with a letter when it comes to an address. So our email address shouldn't take in a number to start. We shouldn't start with a number. So we could come back and write it here. So that is how many bugs. So we found three bugs just going through, and we're just in a third field. Okay, so the next one we're going to be testing is going to be the phone number. So you could do SS. Our phone number is taking SS, which is not a phone number. So we could say that, oh, our phone number field, phone number is what is taking a string value like SS. Okay, so you could put S also, and it's valid. You look at it is required. So our requirement check is passed, but we can put something random. So it also taking we could also put symbol. So we could also add it here that string value SS, and that one again is our exclamation mark. So it takes in those random strings. So string is anything that can be written. Even our number can be a string. So depending on the context. So as you can see, so I can also try to put in emoji. So I can put in emoji. So I can just put crying emoji. So it also takes emoji. So this is not a phone number. This is not doing any checks at all. So that is why you need to check every single thing. It says compulsory, sorry, it says required, but I can put in emoji in my phone number. So and that is sad. So I don't know. So you can see those are ways we can do exploratory testing. So moving forward, so what is the address? So our address can be something like this. So our address can start with a number. Maybe you can start with you live in number 10 in Woolwich, or you can stay in maybe, but you shouldn't have symbol in our address. So as you can see, our address shouldn't accept, or our address actually accepts symbol, e.g. Oh yeah, which symbol do we put? This is the symbol we put. So you can see we shouldn't pass in symbol, and you can see you will say though this is not required, okay, so it's not compulsory to put your address, but as you can see over here, it takes in values that shouldn't be taken, which is the symbol. I can add plus, I can also add emoji to it. So I can add emoji. So that's it. So similarly to city, okay. I can do the same thing. So I can put in emoji. As you can see, it didn't complain that I passed in emoji. Okay. So the city and the address, we could say city and address accept symbol, which shouldn't accept symbol. Okay. So now for this country, our exploratory testing is, can we change the country to UK? Okay, we can change to UK. Let's see, can we change it to Belgium? Yeah, we can change to Belgium. Then can we change it to select country? We shouldn't be able to change to select country, because this should even be the default. Okay? Because why do you put select country there when you're asking the user for country? Maybe you want to know where the user is coming from. This is a event registration form. It can be a online event registration form. It can also be a physical event registration form. You don't want people that you told them to select their country. Maybe there's a discount, maybe there's a need for, maybe you are collecting data, like maybe anonymous data. maybe people that you want to understand where your user base is coming from. So that's why you have this field. Okay. But telling them to select countries, like telling them that, oh, you can enter any country you choose, maybe somewhere unknown. Okay, it's better for you to put an option for them to have. They should put somewhere unknown than for you to put select country. So in my own scenario, select country doesn't really make sense. It can be the default, but the user shouldn't be able to select the select country again. And as you can see, the select country is not required. So we could leave it like this, and we could also decide to pick any country of our choice. But I'll leave it in the select country and I'll put it in our feedback. So this is may not be necessary. This bug that I say that I found may not necessarily be a bug. So let's go over why it may not be a bug. So one of the reasons is our requirements. Okay. So for instance now, our requirement must can say our first name and last name can actually accept symbol. Okay. Though it's rare and is something I've not heard of, okay, but it's possible. Maybe it can accept numbers, but may not start with a number. So it depends on the business rules before you classify something as a bug. Just because you found it doesn't mean it's a bug. It may be the way the developer intended it to work. It may be the way the product owner wanted it to work. That is why it works that way. So if you are joining a new product, don't just test and say, oh, this is a bug. First, make sure you actually ask question before you say, oh, this is really a bug. So you shouldn't report um false positive. So you don't want to report things that are actually positive but they came out false from your own end. So another one again is the t.com. Like I said, x.com is Twitter, or previously Twitter. Then x x.com can be used by Elon Musk's employer, sorry, employees in Twitter. So that may be their own email address. So this may be a valid domain name. Maybe my name of my company is t.com. So and I want to register here as a company. Okay, maybe my organization has a slot for this event registration, and I want to register using my company email. Right. So like I said, this may not necessarily be a bug because of it. It doesn't allow t.com. Doesn't mean that t.com is not a valid email address. In fact, it's very valid and it can be used in, but it's mostly used as an internal tools in organization. But like I said, it is rare. So this one, similarly, email shouldn't start with a number. So if an email is being created by organization, it can absolutely start with a number. They can use maybe your staff ID for your email. So they may decide not to use your name. They maybe big organization like Google, Microsoft that have over 100,000 of employees can use their user ID, which is unique and is generated over names or names and surname, because multiple people can have same name and same surname. So there are different scenarios where a lot of people have the same surname and the same name. That is why in university or in public places where they have large amount of people, they make use of user ID or student ID depending on the scenario. So this number, and your number can be a student ID or your employee ID, and that is what you may use for your email. Maybe my in maybe I work with Google now and my ID is 1234. So what I could say is 1234 at gmail.com. So this is going to be a valid email address if Google were to actually allow their employees to make use of phone, maybe not phone number, but their employee ID as their Gmail, or sorry, as their Gmail. So this is going to be a very valid scenario, and it's going to be used by the internal tools. It won't be used for public use. So another one is phone number. So this is what I would say, and I'll stand by that. Oh, this is really, really bug. No phone number in any part of the world actually start with a exclamation mark or have a number SS. Though there are few symbols that they use, such as plus, but they don't start with exclamation mark or SS. So like maybe we have plus 234 or plus 44. So those are valid. So the plus is valid there, okay, but not this symbol, no other symbol or other letter like S or exclamation mark. So similarly, this symbol in city and address is probably wrong, because the only symbol that may be right may be dash when it comes to city. So there are a lot of maybe they use something like maybe they use something like this, and maybe the person is Anne Marie, maybe that's the name of the street, maybe the name of the street is Anne Marie. So you could say, oh, this is a valid street address. So when you're that's why in the UK, once they are putting the address, they also make use of the postcode. But as you can see, rather than putting the address and the country for the address, then you could also put postcode. Then you can do a postcode lookup. So there are different API that can do a postcode lookup, and you know that, and you'll be confident that the user is selecting the right address. That is if address is very, very important in this scenario. As you can see, address is not as important since it is not even required, and I can pass in emojis, which is not even an address at all. It's not even a text. Though under in symbol, when it comes to JavaScript and HTML, emoji is actually a text, and there's a numerical representation of emoji. Okay, so that's gonna be it. Then the next one is going to be country. So today we'll also the exploratory part, and tomorrow we're going to write this our Excel sheets properly. Okay. So this country part, I'm going to leave it as select country, and I'm going to write it there that this is not going to come as a suggestion. So I could say the select country. So I could say user shouldn't be able to select the select country. Users shouldn't be able to select the select country. So I'll put this on double quotation. So this is going to be it. So now let's go to the next one. So I select the select country. All right. And the next one is going to be how many friends would you bring along? This is required. So I can pick one, I can pick two, I can pick three. So this work as expected. So this is the only one that we could say, oh, it's work as expected. Okay. Then so I'm not bringing any of my friend along. So do I have any food requirements? So am I a vegan? Am I a vegetarian? Am I gluten free? Am I don't have any food requirements, so I'm going to pick none. Then what is my preferred drink? So do I have white wine? Do I have red wine? Do I have beer? So I can also pick no preference. Or rather, my preference is water. My preference is not yet. So I prefer to drink water too, and it's not yet. So then this is register. Okay. Now we've passed through this stage, okay? Below you can find a map of the event venue. Please contact us for further details. Now, the map of the event venue is we need to look for the map. We need to ensure that This if the map is not present or the developer have failed to implement the map, then they should remove this line of code or this line. Okay, so they don't so they won't confuse the user. Now imagine I go down now, then I'm looking for map, but there is no map, so that is a bug. So it's either they remove it or they implement a map because I as a user I don't know where the event venue is. And besides, users shouldn't be able to see this until maybe they've registered, or if you want them to see it, then let it be visible, because as you can see I can't even see anything. Everything is blank. The images are blank. I don't know why they select image over here, but it's blank. The date and time, why do I need date and time? This doesn't really make sense in my opinion. The user shouldn't even have access to date and time. Why do you want the date and time for? Do you want the date and time when I'm registering? Do you want the date and time I'm probably going to be coming? Maybe the event take place every day. So I don't know why I need to put in the date and time. So this is where you need to ask question on clarity. That why is this field compulsory? Um I was asked to fill all the field, but I I don't know why this field is compulsory. Then this select image, a lot of functionality that we're not using that is there. These are all bugs. Okay. And lastly, it's not even working. Maybe you want to show, okay, sorry, you don't want to show anything. It says select images. So why do we want to select image in the first place? So the image are not even visible. Lastly, they are not even selectable. I can't select everything. It's just random. So image not available. So these are what I want you to see, that these are bugs that we could report. Another one again is checkbox lists. So why do we have checkbox? This information are not really important. So we can tell the developer, we can write the suggestion that tell the developer that, you know what, I want you to remove these features below the registration. They are not useful. Okay. There is no point in misdirecting the user. And also this one where it says below you can find the map of the event venue, but there is no map. Okay. And lastly, there is even place for us to for the user to contact the owner of the website or the people planning the event. So which is also wrong again. So this is misdirection. And is also a functional bug. What the system claim is going to have, it doesn't have it. Okay, maybe it was in the requirement and the developer failed to implement it. And as the end user, I'm confused and I don't know what to do right now. There's no body for me to contact, and I don't know how far it is from my house. So the probability of me coming to that event, even, is going to be like maybe 10%, because I'm not sure of where the event is and there is no place for me to contact the owner of the event. And maybe it can be like a auction store or a store that you're opening and you do something like this. So the user that you're expecting to come to your store can't even come anymore. So, and you're going to lose business because you've paid the developer, you've paid the tester, but the company has paid the tester and the developer. But they've produced something full of bugs and errors. So what's the way forward now? So this is why you need to communicate with your developer and tell them, oh, I can't see any map, I can't see um contact us. Maybe there's a contact us form and it's not over here. There's no contact us over here. This is not a contact us link. So I don't know what to do. I'm confused and I don't think I'll be going for this event. Then the city. So mind you, we have address, we have city. So why do we still have city? Why do we have duplication of fields? Like I said, this form is full of error, and I think that's why they created it, for us to detect as many errors as possible. So this is duplication. So which you need to tell the developer, oh, these are duplication, and I want you to remove it so that I can retest. So and I'll click, so look at our field that I'm using, see our first name, see our last name, see the phone number, see the email, see the address, see the city, select country, none, none, none. As you can see, I have registered successfully, which I shouldn't be able to register. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay, so that is it for tonight. Do we have any question? So, do we have any question, please? Anybody, any question?
Hello, good evening.
Okay,
All right. Okay. I actually understood what you taught today. I understood what you taught today, but my question, please, it's not actually pertaining to what was taught tonight.
yeah, that's
I have series of questions, but let me just ask just these two about the JavaScript. You know, you started JavaScript last week.
yeah,
I don't know. I know you are going to still teach more on JavaScript, but we didn't get to the part where you actually taught JavaScript used for testing.
yeah. I'm
I
going
don't know
to
if
get
you're
to that. You see, the
okay.
issue with people before was that they do that. They don't start with foundation of JavaScript. So they just teach how
Okay.
JavaScript is used or how Java is used for
Okay.
testing, maybe Playwright or
Okay.
Selenium. Then a lot of people, by the time the person teaching start bringing out syntax, maybe start using if statement now. But if
Okay.
statement is not something unique to maybe Selenium or Playwright. If statement is a core functionality of JavaScript or Java. But people are
Okay.
confused what's going on. So that's why we're trying a new method, okay, where we focus more on automation and where we focus more on foundation, so that even if you are leaving the language or you are leaving that framework, you have solid enough foundation of what you're actually going to do in the job. Because job market, getting a job right now is very, very hard and it's really, really difficult for you to get a job. So especially as a beginner. So that's why
Okay.
you need to be the best. You need to stand out. Also, what's your
Okay.
second question?
So myself, please. Okay, because I joined this program last week. I
Yeah,
actually joined last week. So now, when they are doing that general meeting, I really don't know who I'm supposed to ask questions to, especially when they're using that the Azure software. I'm always confused. I don't know if I can talk to you more because okay, I actually contacted an SM in the program. He was able to help me to even open the because I was finding it difficult to even access the software. So by the time they are doing that general meeting, I'm always confused because I see them doing a lot of things. And when they're even asking QA some question, I didn't know what to say. I was just mute. I didn't know how to contribute. So it's not like we're not in the meeting, but I can't actually I don't know. I know I'm watching some more videos, but I've not been able to actually catch up to the points where they are right now. So that's just it. That's just it. Hello?
yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. So there are two ways we can go about it. The first one is
Okay.
as a tester, the way we approach our Azure DevOps is a little bit different. So there's a
Okay.
testing session. So we're going to discuss Azure DevOps later on, but not now. So
Okay.
probably going to be next week or next 2 weeks. During
Okay.
the period of the automation testing. Okay.
All right. No problem. Thank you very much.
So that's going to be. And the second part is talk to Olaomi. Though she's not
Hello.
going to, she's less likely going to give you a one-to-one meeting, okay? Because she's
Okay.
really, really busy, right?
Okay.
However, what we could do is, so your SM is probably going to be working more in the Azure than you guys as a tester, because you
Okay.
have Azure to learn, you have manual testing, you also have automation to test, and you also have to be attending meeting regularly, and you have work or life, maybe family outside of the program.
Mhm.
Okay. So you can attend SM meeting because they are going to be working more as in your Scrum Master. They'll be working more in the Azure. Like they'll be the one to set up your Azure board. I don't know if they've set it or finished. I'm also going to
Okay.
put you through Azure as a tester, but
Okay.
foundation, like how to set up your Azure board. Trust me, by the time you start working more, because we're moving away from Excel. So my own plan is just to teach you about Excel. We're going to forget about Excel. we'll go on to maybe from next week, since you guys have already estimated this point. So from next week, I'm going to teach you how to write your test cases in Azure DevOps, and that's what I'm going to teach you how to use Azure DevOps. So, but
Okay.
for now, it's okay to be confused because you joined it. Even people that don't join it are actually still confused on how it works. But as you just started the program anyway, so as you
Yeah.
proceed, you have 2 months, 2 more months, so it's fine. You're going to get
Yeah.
used to the system. So
All
that's
right.
what I'm
Thank
going to say. Yeah,
you. Yeah. Thank you.
no worries. So do you have any other question? Anybody? Okay. So you can stop the recording now. Ajibola, stop the